Hi, this is Dr. Stephen Newhart with Science-Based Body, and this is the Economic Fitness Podcast channel. On this channel, we are going to provide you with ways to keep your body and mind in top peak physical condition in an environment of sedentary work environments. It is our perspective that blood flow is equal to cash flow. And if you cut off the blood flow, you cut off the cash flow. We hope you enjoy our information. Welcome back to Economic Fitness, powered by Science-Based Brain, Mind, Body. This is Dr. Stephen Newhart. I've got a great crew with me today, actually, and what I'd like to do is start by introducing everybody. And we're actually going to be learning today, so this is a big education session for everybody. Obviously, with our company, we believe in natural treatment. We also believe in increasing economic performance for everybody. So we've got a lot of focuses that we like to kind of hone in on. And we're starting with an EEG scan, that's electroencephalogram. And today we've got people with us who are going to fully explain what this does and what it can do for the population, how we can move it forward, tell us about their interesting device. So first, I would like to kind of go around and just introduce everybody. I've got two special guests with me today, and then somebody that everybody should have met by this point by now, but we'll introduce him as well. So with me from Zeto is Liz Rourke.
Hello.
Liz,
hi.
Thank you for being here today.
Happy to be here.
And Florian Strolzik. I'm working on it. Thank you for being here, Florian.
Thank you for having
And my business partner, Bill Garner, is joining us today. Bill, thanks for joining us. So I think we just kind of go into the background. Florian, you're a PhD, correct? And
yes.
that has was there a focus here with that? What's your PhD in?
I have a PhD in psychobiology.
Okay.
I'm a trained psychologist, and for my thesis, I went into the effects of glucocorticoids on the central nervous system. I used EEG and fMRI to look at this. And then a few years later, I found my path into industry, and I'm now with Zeto.
Excellent. So there is definitely a connection.
There is certainly a connection.
There's a massive connection
EEG
there.
has always had a special place in my heart, and I'm very passionate about this.
Okay.
Not just from the business perspective, also from what it can do for people and for neurodiagnostics as a whole.
The first thing that hit my face when I was a personal trainer was that, and in kinesiology, that there's something going on with the human population, health-wise. It's not for the better. And so that led me to start looking at the brain. You guys have been looking at the brain for, a majority of your time spent. So you're a little bit ahead of my level of thinking. And my business partner has been looking into all these devices and this technology for a long time. So I'm getting introduced to it and realizing that it possibly is a good assessment tool to address all these issues that are going on out there. So if you wouldn't mind, tell me everything about an EEG. What are we finding out? What can we do with this information? And just sort of, I don't want to throw too many questions at you at once, but I'm massively curious to know what you know.
Very good. A number of good questions here. So think of it, we know so much about the human body right now. Everybody's wearing their smartwatch right now. You know about your heartbeat, you know about so much about your body, but we don't really know much about what's going on in the most important organ in our body, in my mind, which is the brain, which guides our experiences, our sensations, what we make out of life. And that's really a device that does that. Think of the EEG as an ECG for the brain.
Sure.
So you have squiggly waves on your screen, multiple channels that assess the activity of the brain. And that can help us deduce what's going on in your brain and help guide behavior, help guide therapies, and just make you better.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do with that information once you have it?
So once you have it, it takes a few steps to understand. Very often it takes long training to understand how to read these brain waves. And there are generally two ways of using that information. Either you want to help somebody become better. It's in terms of treatment. It's more clinical use. And the other one is self-improvement, self-enhancement. And the last 10, 15 years, the self-improvement, self-enhancement has taken over a lot of the innovation also. There have been a lot of startups, a lot of technologies developed to also help self-improve. Now, this particular device is a clinical device, cleared by the FDA. It's 510K cleared, and it can help make this clinical diagnosis a lot easier. Now, it's also very useful for the self-improvement if you plug that data into the right software. But this is first and foremost intended for neurodiagnosis for medical decision making.
And when you say self-improvement, what are some some self-improvement strategies that you've heard people come at?
Think as the brain as a sounding board. You put something in, the signal rattles in your brain, oscillates, starts up a lot of networks, and something comes out of it again. We have a conversation right now. I perceive your voice as a wave, which is translated through my ear into signals in the brain, which then my network can start processing to start having a conversation. Now, wouldn't it be cool to not just listen to my voice as an output, but also look at the brain of what it does while I talk to you, to understand, is this oscillating at the right frequencies, is it optimum, is there maybe something that's not the way it should be? Now, the EEG is not a know-all, but it's a great tool of guiding decisions. I can see, is there maybe an imbalance in the brain? Are there certain regions that are overactive or not as active as it should be? And then I can use techniques, very often called brain-computer interfaces, or some type of neurofeedback to give the person a feedback about their current brain state that can help them change that. And the cool thing about the brain is the brain does this automatically. We don't have to teach the brain how to do this. I just can give the brain a feedback on the screen that can be in form of a game or just a color or whatever, something that the brain wants. If I give it more of what it wants while wearing this brain-computer interface, I can shape the brain towards what I want it to do. It's very automatic. The brain is very efficient there. I don't actually have to teach you how to do this. I just need to find out, what do you want, Stephen, and give you something on the screen or some feedback to close that loop. I use the EEG, I put it on your head, I read what's going on, and based on where I want the brain waves to be shaped to, I can give you more reward if you move towards this, or I just leave the reward out. I don't have to punish you. There are two philosophies. There are two philosophies. I can either reinforce or I can punish. The nicer way is to reinforce, and ethics nowadays goes more towards the reinforcement. But the early research and the early work was also testing other approaches, and it does work.
That's phenomenal. So what outcomes in life do we see when we modify, when we alter the brain? Am I going to be more focused? Am I going to be more present? Am I going to be more relaxed? Am I going to be more awake? I mean, are these all things? Am I going to be less addicted? Because that's an area that Bill and I, we have high interest in that.
There's definitely still a lot of work that has to be done to really have a definite answer of what you have to do to not be addicted, what you have to do to sleep better. But we're really making big strides in that field to understanding the brain better. And the first step is always measuring something before you are able to change it. Think of it as your blood pressure. You cannot take medication to increase or decrease it if you don't know what your blood pressure is. And it's the same idea with the brain. If right now you are admitted to a hospital, they can keep your lungs breathing, they can keep your heart alive, they can do all those things for you, but very rarely do we look at the brain and see what the brain does. And that's mostly because the traditional way of looking at EEG has been very tedious. It needs special trained operators to make this possible. It's a long process. It sometimes takes 40 to 50 minutes to set somebody up. Even a very experienced technician can frequently take 30 minutes. So it becomes not feasible to do this. So by using technology, we can lower the hurdle of getting EEGs into the hand of specialists. Might it be for self-improvement or just for clinical diagnosis?
Or for a downtown location.
Or for
business executives. Yes. and this device is phenomenal for them.
I mean, when I think about, so if we're doing an EEG, we see overactivation as far as anxiety. Well, once we've got that tool, then training the brain, because then you don't have to medicate with food, you don't have to medicate with alcohol, you don't have to medicate with behavior. You can just learn how to breathe, like she was saying, Wim Hof, where you learn how to breathe, and change, that pattern, and literally, retrain the brain.
And you don't set important tasks for the day aside to do said other things.
Yes.
And to what you were saying, to add to this, Bill, this gives us an extra tool that we're just exploring, but what we already know is that it's very powerful. We do not need medication for a lot of things. We're just finding out about the power of hypnosis, how the brain works in that regard. We're just finding out so many things that humanity as a culture has somewhat known through tribal knowledge, but we haven't really understood it, haven't really been able to grasp it in the biology, but that can help with this. And to your point, medications can be reduced, and a more natural treatment can be found as long as we understand the biology behind it. We don't have to bombard it with antibiotics and with other things. If you can start the autoimmune systems, if you can start focusing brain function on certain processes that are beneficial to the patient or to the individual.
And the key to all of that is really understanding the data that the brain can provide us and what the best approach is to make these modifications or changes, whether they be clinical in therapy and treatment or whether they be for self-improvement and self-enhancement. I think that's where we're really starting to see the industry and the medical world really kind of hone in, is really understanding what the data is telling us and how to best utilize that in our benefit.
I think one of the key things that came out in our first conversation was really the amount of data and how Zeto can really manipulate that data, and where again we can look at population groups and we can see those outliers and what's unique about the best of the best, and then how to train brains to really replicate that. Or again, when we were discussing children, where we can, instead of medicating young boys where they're natural hunters and movers, and just because they have teachers who are not inclined to be around boys that are full of energy, where they want to medicate them or they want to shove them aside. Now we've got the technologies that can really help each individual optimize and really affect a permanent change for them over their lifetime.
And you are willing to do a demonstration for us, is that correct?
Certainly.
Let's see the magic.
So this is really the device itself. It looks like a bicycle helmet, and it basically weighs like one also. You have these size adjustable dials, so you can dial from a very, very small head size. So a kid can do it starting about 2.5, 3 years of age. So very close it down all the way.
Yeah, it has a nice range in terms of head size that it can fit. It goes all the way down to 48 centimeters in head circumference and then up to 62. So like you mentioned, we're talking about 2.5-year-old children up to a standard adult.
When he showed me the smallest, my son's head is already bigger than that.
Yeah.
You can see my fist fits.
So it definitely would fit.
So a 2.5-year-old, a big-headed 2.5-year-old can fit this easily.
Oh yeah.
And this is really it. There's nothing. A traditional type of EEG devices that come, and many of us might have seen or might have had one. You have wires, you have large equipment cards, you have all this stuff that comes with it, and it generally involves gluing down individual lead wires, and it takes paste or gel. Very often you also have to scrub and abrade the scalp, and there's clinical glue involved that sticks in the hair.
And not to mention the measurement that's required for standard EEG placement of those electrodes on the scalp. Whereas this, it's designed in a way that it still stays within the standard that's necessary for an EEG to be done, which is called the 1020 standard, but it doesn't require all of that excessive manual work at the start to make sure that it's accurate.
And imagine that's all we knew up until 3 weeks ago. And then we jumped 5 light years ahead after we met you guys.
And as soon as we saw it, it's like, hey, this is non-negotiable. We have to have this.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, there's usually a gap between what the cutting edge is, where the research is, where the technology is, and where the consumers are. And in markets like telecommunication or automobile industry, that gap is very small. The moment you have innovation, it's out there as soon as possible. In EEG, well, in clinics, but in EEG in particular, this gap is huge. The last big step forward was somewhere in the mid-90s when they switched from analog to digital amplifiers. What we really do here, we innovate the skin electrode interface, the way how we sample the signal from the scalp and feed it into the signal. Now, we're not the first to do it, but we're the first to take it into clinics.
Sure.
So this is really it. This is the amplifier in the back. There's nothing else. It weighs a little bit more than a pound. It's flexible. It's not uncomfortable. So let's start putting it on you.
Bill, do you do our test?
Bill, you want to?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great.
please.
So I open it up to its full size.
And after,
And
maybe
Liz,
we
you
can get a
can-
shot of the screen once it gets going.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
start
I'll
it
move
up.
this around. So we're just waiting for
So
it
the
to
goal
wait
is
the
to get
headsets
this
on.
done in about 5 minutes. We might be a little bit faster with Bill.
And then
Lovely
one of the
stuff.
really nice things about this design as well is we kind of mentioned that the current standard, or what's been known as the standard, requires gluing down these individual electrodes. These actually house all of these individual electrodes in the helmet itself, or the headset, and they actually are magnetic. So it's really easy to set it up and clean it up afterwards. But the nice thing is that they're flexible, and so what happens is when you put it on the head, it's going to
Jared, if you wanna get
compress
this-
that down into a three-way plie if you're a dancer, or a nice bend, and it's going to allow for not only the flexibility and comfort for the patient experiencing the study, but it's going to allow for strong contact and for those little legs to get through the hair actually onto the scalp to maintain contact.
And it was interesting just now, you took the one that was in your hand, just
Yeah, just go right back in.
Right back on, just a magnet.
Very
that's a
good.
whole lot easier than a skull cap.
So instead of me measuring and marking spots on the scalp right now and gluing electrodes, all I really need to do is find a reference point on the forehead that I need to center my headset to, and everything will fall into place. Good. Need to make sure that it's nice and centered. Liz, is it centered from you?
Yeah, it looks good.
It's like I'm getting ready to get on my bicycle.
Yeah, bicycle helmet.
Not too heavy, is it?
Should not be uncomfortable, so you
That's
feel
very
any pressure
comfortable.
spots, let me know. So it does need a trained operator, but we generally can train somebody within 3 to 4 hours, and then they're fit to use this.
And so what he's doing right now is he's just making sure that all of those electrodes are in contact with the scalp. And to do that, those same little cranks that he showed earlier to change the size of the head circumference that it allows, just cranking those down so that it's tight, but not too tight to the scalp so that it's still comfortable. So it's strong
really
contact.
Data come through?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this is the software. I don't know if this can be seen. It is a web-based platform. I don't know if it's too low.
here, it might.
Let me see. Here, I will do this. How about this?
Data, yeah, that'll be good.
So it's a web-based platform, so you can access it from anywhere as long as you have an HTML5 compatible browser, which is Google Chrome, anything like that. And so it'll pump you in just to here, and we're just going to go right to record. And we have our headset identified and external references
Yes,
set on.
all external.
Great.
Very good. I think we're set to go.
And we'll just hit start recording. And this is where you put your or your study information in for your patient or whoever's doing it, and you can fill that in at any time.
The intriguing thing with this technology is you can really use any mobile device that has a web browser and a large enough screen. So you don't have to install any firmware or hardware.
The possibility for phone, is that?
Yeah,
Is that
you
what-
can start and stop this from a phone
Wow.
easily.
Yeah,
Now,
that makes it.
the reason for that is because the
Very
headset communicates directly with the cloud. So for the geeks out there, this is directly, this is not going from the headset to the computer and then up to the cloud. It actually goes
Wow.
directly from the headset to the cloud.
To the cloud.
Because this is now going to Virginia actually, and comes back to Dallas within about a 70 millisecond loop, which is how we see this here right now. Which electrode do I need to fix?
We're looking at CZ and T3 maybe.
23?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephen, this is really comfortable.
I mean,
I mean,
just holding it, you can tell it's
it's
comfortable.
just like I said, putting on a bicycle helmet.
Yeah.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can choose to close the buckle. It's not really needed. It's mostly just for if you do have a patient that's less compliant, you do want to close it. Or if you have certain head shapes that are a little bit more conical, and as you close it, it would ride up. But it's
You need
usually...
to mess with CZ, I think.
How much artifact from moving do you see?
Well, right now, we're just here. I'm going to turn this so you can see.
Oh, very good. Seems like I don't have a strong enough internet connection right now.
Oh,
That is a little bit of a bottleneck. You do need at least 5 Mbits up and down. So
we
they're
have
connected
it.
to
We have it, but we're far from the signals in one of our back offices.
Okay. You see it's catching up nicely. But in essence, you see how we're able to set this up in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's. No, I just think about all the research and things that we want to.
If you go in that back room back there.
Yeah.
We've discussed doing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Easy research.
Where when you think about the questions I was asking, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? No. No. You can't do that. That's not possible. And now it's all possible.
Yeah, we don't like the word no.
Yeah.
If we get to that point, it's not yet. Let's figure it out.
Figure it out.
Yeah. No, it's
In starting with an innovative company like Zeto, the first thing that I had to learn is what we always, what I've experienced in the past is getting these no's very often. No, that's not possible. No, nobody has done this. What I had to learn with Zeto very quickly is it's the why not? Why can't we do it? What do we have to do to get there?
Yeah.
And that's really also the fun of working with our team is always trying to push the boundaries. And
That's a certain type
not
of
giving
person.
up.
Put together that type of person in a big group.
It's an amazing team that we have.
That's how. That's
It
how
really
a team
is. We're
built.
lucky.
That's how a team is built right there.
I am really grateful that Brandon at Wave Neuroscience said these are the guys. And this is why we chose Zeto.
I agree.
And I
Thank you for your
really
trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's as soon as I heard you had a background in bio plus psychology, I thought, wow, this is the guy I want to talk to.
And what's exciting about this is you get to really take what's on the front line of research and put it straight into the clinics.
Right.
And
I
it's
also know
exciting.
we'll have a massive impact on businesses.
Oh,
The way businesses function.
Yeah.
We'll have a massive impact on this chronic disease issue that's in America.
And if you think of it, it really is that progression. You have the cutting edge research, then it goes into clinics, and then it goes to the consumer and to the business world. And these steps have to become a lot shorter than they have been, because there hasn't been any innovation for over 30 years in this field.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Very
Well,
good.
it's-
Thank you for
so
coming
much.
to Texas.
no, this tool is going to be incredible for economic athletes.
Yeah.
So we see, guys like Tom Brady who have really trained there, but now really going to all these different entrepreneurs, these executives, the rainmakers, all these individuals in these companies where we can just help them optimize, because each individual at certain moments has like an epiphany. It's like, wow, I could do that. That's possible, but it doesn't seem to manifest. And now the things when they've had those moments where they thought, well, maybe, just maybe, I know I've got these gifts, but they're just not coming out. Now we have a way for those to be expressed.
Exactly. If you can measure it, you can change it.
Yep. Wow.
Now we can measure.
Yes.
Now we can easily measure.
For sure.
And maybe the last thing before we cut off,
Sure.
once you're done, you take it off and you don't have any residue, you can go about your day.
Wow.
Quick and
Biggest-
easy.
biggest-
It's as easy as
Biggest
setting it up. Just take it off. You might have some impression on the spot, on the head, they go away within a minute or two, but now you can go back about your day.
No
you don't have to
alcohol
wash your hair.
swab.
Nope.
No.
All done.
No
of
need
that.
to go shower.
45
All
Perfect.
good. Yeah, absolutely.
What is that, Liz, what you were saying when we were talking earlier? You said, well, if you have all that on a lady, that's the end of their day.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're going to make an appointment, normally it's going to be during the workday, right? So they're going to take a break or come on their lunch break. It's going to be difficult to go back to the office and hold meetings or do presentations, whatever the case may be, when you have gel and glue all over your hair and you can't even get a brush through it.
The only way we could possibly attend, because of where we are here in a fitness center, is to say, well, we have a locker room and you can go in there,
shower.
Spend 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you know, but that we don't have to do that now. So.
The other key
unnecessary.
factor is when I ask, okay, how long is it going to take us to train our techs? And, they were saying like 6 months or, year or, all these things. And now 3 hours. And all of a sudden,
Well, I think it's important when you're working or developing and providing innovative technology that you not only have a technology that provides a solution that has a great impact, but that's also easily utilized by those that are going to need it. Because if you have a technology that nobody can figure out or that a very select few can, it's not going to be put into place. Yeah, absolutely. So being able to train and get up to speed and onboarded quickly is important.
This tool is going to have a dramatic economic impact on our nation, on our world, because, like I said, it makes this survival mechanism, the brain that's been trained to survive. All of a sudden, we've got measurement, we've got data, we've got knowledge. We see what's unique about the best of the best, and then we can train people to be there.
If you really think of it, in the history, the biggest technological leaps we've been able to do because we were able to use our time more efficiently instead of having somebody train 16, 18 months. All of the revolutions we've had is making better use of time. Yeah. That's really what that does.
Well, and that's vital because that's our most precious resource. It's not something that we can reproduce. So making sure that our time is utilized in the best way possible to benefit the most people is I think, vital.
And if you waste it, you never get it back.
Right, exactly. It's gone.
Yeah. Someday we'll see this in the museum in Munich, in the Deutsches Museum.
That's the plan, yeah.
See the Gutenberg printing.
And this is only the beginning, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Florian, thank you.
Very good. Thank you for
your
having
time,
us.
Liz. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning into Economic Fitness once again, and we will catch you on the next episode.